Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel God Will Do It For You. My name is Steven. I hope everyone's having a great day so far. And what we're going to be talking about today is knowing when to let them go. And why is this important? This is very important because sometimes having the wrong friendship, the wrong relationship, wrong business partner, the wrong job, sometimes having those things in your life can derail you in a way that you just don't understand what happened at that point. And for me, a particular person in my life is actually not wanting to remove themselves, and so I'm going to have to do the hard intentional thing to forcefully remove them out of my life. And it's not one of those things that I want to do. It hurts to think about having to do that, because I understand their circumstances. But when people or a certain relationship is in your life, and then all of a sudden things start going haywire, and you keep noticing a consistent trend of like, man, every time I'm around this person or I go to this place or this and that, things just don't go right, or it doesn't feel right, or something that is just not right. God giving us those obvious signs that I'm doing this, because when you come to me in prayer about who you should have in your life, or you pray for godly friendships or things of that nature, or a relationship, if you do what you're supposed to do, which is come to me for guidance about it, I will give you the signs or the clarity that you need in order to make the sometimes hard decision, or to give you the thumbs up and say, okay, you're supposed to do this. But if you don't, then you experience like what the fisherman did in the story of Jonah, in the book of Jonah. Now, Jonah was given instructions to go to a location called Nineveh, and it's a great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before God. And that's in verse 1 of Jonah. Now, what Jonah decided to do instead was go to a city called Tarshish to flee the presence of the Lord. Well, of course, being disobedient to God's instructions when God has tasked you to do something, God's got something for you. He's like, I show you how this is done. Now, the thing is Jonah saw these fishermen right over here. He paid the fare. They just let him on the boat, and they started rowing towards Tarshish, or what they were trying to accomplish. Well, once they started heading out there, all of a sudden they're like, man, this is a pretty intense storm. Like, this seems stronger than what we're used to. Now, think, any type of fishermen that go and cross these great masses of water, they've dealt with some storms, but that means that they understand exactly what they're getting themselves into. Now, what God threw at them, they weren't familiar with, and that's why they had to cast a lot to see exactly what was going on, because they're like, we've done this, we've traveled together, there's got to be somebody on here that's causing the storm against us, because what is going on? And we know the Lord, something's just not right. So then when they cast a lot, then here goes Jonah. He pops up, and now they're asking the questions that they probably should have asked from the get-go. And this is where we start to look at ourselves and say, hey, now we start to realize maybe we should have got to know this person a little bit more before we started to really introduce them to our life, because you just never know what they're attached to. And in Jonah's case, he was attached to God that was currently pissed off at him. So now they're getting his juju. So now they're asking the question, when we go down to verse 8 in chapter 1, says, what is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and what people are you? Then he told them about himself. And now they're sitting there like, oh, Lord, like, what are we going to do, y'all? We're out here in the middle of the storm. It's getting more vicious, things of that nature. And sometimes that's exactly what happens in your life. You're like, man, now I understand, okay, whatever you need to understand about the current situation and circumstances. And you're thinking about your options. Well, now the person, in Jonah's case, Jonah, he says to them in down verse 12, he said to them, pick me up and hurl me into the sea, then the sea will quiet down for you, for I know it's because of me that this great tempest has come upon you. Now, what these men tried to do, though, it says, nevertheless, the men rowed hard to get back to dry land, but they could not, for the sea grew more and more tempestuous against them. And the reason why God did this is because they tried to go backwards. Now, God wanted them to go to Tarshish, okay? But he just didn't want Jonah to go there. So then Jonah's sitting there. He could just jump off into the sea. But what Jonah basically gave them the hard intentional choice to do was, y'all either got to throw me off or we're gonna have to ride it out and see if we're gonna make it, because this is my fault, but you're gonna have to throw me off. So now, once they saw that they had no ability to get back to dry land, and they see that, you know, we're gonna have to do the hard intentional thing, this hurts us to do this, they threw him off. Then it says they picked Jonah up down in verse 15 and hurled him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. So as soon as he exited the picture, life went back to what they were accustomed to. And then they feared the Lord exceedingly, because they felt bad about what they did. Jonah's a man of the Lord. You know, any child of God, it doesn't matter who you are, you know, you don't want to really do stuff to him, because God, you know, we're his children. It's almost like a parent seeing somebody try to do something to their child at the park, that other parent's probably going to do something about it. So the great thing, though, is down in verse 17, God already had a lifeboat for him. And the great fish swallows Jonah. It says, and the Lord appointed a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. So sometimes when we feel like we're doing something horrible, we're like, you know, I really don't want to remove them out the picture. This could hurt them financially, or this could this, or this could that, or whatever the case may be. But for whatever the case, it's gotten to that point where you feel like you got to make the decision. You're going to have to do what you got to do. But just know that, just like God did for Jonah, God's just not going, he knows that they had to do that. Just like he knew that Joseph was going to have to be sold as a slave and then put in prison. So he knew bad things were going to have to happen, but it was to get Jonah back on track to what he advised him to do. And it's the same thing about someone that you're having to remove out of your life. They have their own particular person. We all do. And if they're not a part of the plan for you, God may have to put them through some stuff to get them back on track. And that's okay. Just know that God's got them, though. Just like he has Jonah. Don't feel bad about what you have to do. They may hate you. They may talk. Trust me, God got all that. I never even tried to defend myself when people talk, or if somebody ever had to talk crap. I don't even know if somebody does, honestly. But that's the thing, is like, you never have to worry about that, because what God starts to do in your life will supersede what anything anybody says. They'll just be looking like a fool, because they'll be like, well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, this person's not, you know. So when it comes to that point where you feel like you have to remove someone out of your life, just understand that you're going to have to do it full throttle. And see, as you can see with these men, it wasn't like they were like, hey, let's get your information down. We might be able to meet back up in the future. It was, we gotta get rid of them. That's it. I mean, serious. They never met again. Sometimes that's the case. But if it's for the betterment of God's plan, then we have to do what we have to do. And that's all there is to it. So I hope this video has been a blessing. If you feel led to like, share, subscribe, definitely do so. I feel like I'm getting better talking about the Bible. You know, I guess the more you read it, it's easier to think about exactly what you're trying to read and access the information. So I don't know. I feel like I'm getting better. You let me know. But again, feel led to like, share, subscribe, definitely do so. I'd love to have you a part of the channel. See, the numbers are jumping up slightly. So let's keep going. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Enjoy this weather. Till next time.